How many times? How many times can we stand up here wrecked with pain over the news that comes out of Israel? Oded Lifshitz, someone who devoted his entire life to peace, murdered by Hamas. And he came home to his family, but not like the reunions that occurred today, but instead to be laid to rest. And with dread, I say to you, our little redhead boys, Ariel and Kafir and their mother Shiri, that held her babies in her arms as she was horrifically, savagely taken hostage into Gaza, the 4-year-old who loved Batman, the baby that stares back at us in every picture, begging us to do something to get him home, and the disgusting, brutal audacity we witnessed as Hamas sent someone else to Israel instead of Shiri. So now we mourn. Their families mourn, Israel mourns, the Jewish people mourn, and we learn this Shabbat how we take responsibility through tragedy. For weeks, I have been thinking about the famous text that we read during the Passover Seder. During the Seder, we recall the Exodus from Egypt by proclaiming in every generation, see yourself as if you are the one that left Egypt. But I'm puzzled by the sentence because we don't say, in every generation, remember you are the one that left Egypt. Why is it so important to have that connecting word, ki'ilu, as if, meaning think of yourself as someone that left Egypt, but remember, it's very important to remember you didn't actually wear the chains of slavery. And my response to my own question, I think the reason why we use that word, ki'ilu, as if, is because we weren't there. We didn't experience the plagues. We didn't personally witness the brutality of Egyptian taskmasters or what it must have been like to finally cross the Sea of Reeds. So we say those words, see yourself as if you left Egypt, as a profound lesson in the human experience, a profound lesson in the Jewish experience. Through tragedy of all kinds, when we are the ones that are not directly impacted, we must see ourselves as the storytellers. We sit around a Seder table not reliving the experience of the slaves, but rather retelling the story of our people. And it becomes our holy responsibility to ensure that through the horrors, our people's names, their stories, their legacy, their lessons, they live on. Let me give you a few more examples. This past week, I spent time in New York City at the Jewish Theological Seminary, and I reunited with several classmates to memorialize a fellow colleague and classmate, Rabbi Fred Elias, who died 5 years ago. As this is the very week of his yahrzeit, we decided to dedicate a bench in his memory. He was a beloved father and husband, friend and teacher to hundreds of students, to hundreds of campers. He was one of the best rabbis I know. And when I saw his wife and his children tearing up as they heard us share stories of Fred, I thought to myself, I am allowed to cry, and I am allowed to hurt and miss him, and I do. I mourn him. I mourn the physical loss of his presence in this world. But looking at his family, I realized they're the mourners. And when I recognized their role, I was able to recognize my own. As I witnessed their pain, I remember it is my responsibility to them and my responsibility to my colleague that his Torah and his wisdom and his love continues through me and the Torah that I choose to spread throughout the world. I want us all to think about what happens in a Shiva home or at a memorial, because Shiva etiquette and memorial etiquette is as follows. When we encounter someone who is in mourning, we're not supposed to say, "I know exactly what you're feeling." Or another unintentionally painful statement, "I understand exactly what you're going through." Because we may deeply empathize, we may be crushed by the loss of a friend or a community member, but we will never know exactly what a direct mourner is feeling. Even when we experience a death in our own families, that experience is uniquely our own. But as someone that attends the Shiva, as someone that attends the memorial service, we have a responsibility to that mourner to hold them in their grief. And our responsibility continues to be the following. We must ask ourselves, what is it? What is it that I will learn from this person's life so that I can be their storyteller? So that their Torah is eternal, touching and impacting and teaching generations to come. And now we have arrived to this morning, a morning that is filled with so many emotions, celebrating Kaylee and Lucy, celebrating the joy in seeing living hostages returning to their families, and deep sadness, where so many of us see ourselves in the face of Shiri Bibas. So many of us feel like those babies are our very own. I couldn't help but bring a Batman mask and put it up on the bima this morning. Because if you know, Ariel Bibas loved to dress up like Batman, just like my boys did when they were 4 years old. We wore orange in their memory. In the times of Israel, Anat Sharbat, the woman who leads prayer services at Hostages Square in Tel Aviv, shared the following. She said, holding all of these emotions, it's exhausting. It feels like our entire nation has become one family. Everyone I meet feels as if their own child is in Gaza. The highs, the lows, the hope, the devastation, it has taken a toll on all of us, from young children to the elderly. Walk down the street and it's all you'll hear, people trying to make sense of it, trying to process it. It's an event that just doesn't end. It goes on and on. We sit here heartbroken and angry and hurt and in pain. And as the Lifshitz family and the Bibas family, as they begin to sit Shiva this week, even thousands of miles away, I know we mourn with them. And similarly to sitting in a Shiva home or memorial service where we hear the stories of the deceased, I ask all of us, we must think about how we will carry their lives forward because they deserve that. And how we will ensure that our words, our messages, and our actions reflect their legacy. The people of Israel, Am Yisrael, unites in carrying forward the messages of their lives, even lives cut very, very short. It feels as if we are living out a Haggadah. In every generation, we must see ourselves as if we were abducted into Gaza, as if it were our children, as if it were our parents, as if it were us. We will never fully understand what Yardain Bibas is feeling. We can't. We can't possibly walk in that man's shoes. His grief is different than ours. But year after year, we must commit ourselves to spiritually stand next to him and tell him through our prayers and our words and our actions, your wife, your babies. It is our solemn promise we will tell their stories. It is our responsibility to ensure that your family is never forgotten. I came across a story about Rabbi Avram Infeld. Rabbi Infeld is the president emeritus of Hillel International, and he tells the story about his first day at Hebrew University in Jerusalem. You see, his lineage is a long line of physicists, and so his own father was sure that his son, that Avram, would be the next Einstein. But on the first day of class, Avram looks out the window, and there is a striking, beautiful woman that walks by, and she starts to enter the history building. Well, Avram couldn't help it. He immediately got up from his seat, left the class, followed her, changed his major, and he fell in love with the woman that would later become his wife. And when Avram alerted his father that there was a little bit of a change in his academic journey, his father wrote back angrily, "What do you mean the Hebrew University teaches Jewish history? Are they crazy? Jews don't have history. They have memory." We have memory. Memories we have experienced on our own accord, and memories we have witnessed and recalled throughout time. Memories of heroes and memories of loved ones, memories of those that fought for our ability to pray here as free Jews, memories of family, memories of those that were slaves in Egypt, and memories of red-headed babies. In every generation, we must look at ourselves as if we left Egypt, as if we have left. A journey that we never physically took, but a journey that we recall for the rest of our days. And these past years, since October 7th, this is a journey we will recall for the rest of our days. Through this tragedy, through these tragedies, through these horrors, we have a responsibility to the mourners among us. We will remember them. We will learn, and we will live so that their legacies endure. And through our own memory, we will ensure their memories and their lives will always be a blessing. Shabbat Shalom.